Can y'all hear me? Okay. I'm super loud, so if you're like being too loud, tell me. So I know it's the end of the day. It's been a long day. So thank y'all for staying to the last session, because that's a lot. So if you have ever been to any of my Healthy St. Landry meetings, then I always start them the same way, because they're usually at the end of the day. And it's usually mostly women that come. So down for a second. Look it over. Think about where your shoulders are right now. Are they touching the bottom of your ears? Let's take a big, deep breath in. Blow it out real slow. Those shoulders go down. I know everybody's bothering you. Are you almost done? I have a question. You have 57 emails. I've tried to call you in the past 2 hours. This is your day. So first, thank you for taking time for yourself to learn, to grow, to network and meet other women that are doing great work in our community. Thank you for making sure that you took the time to just sit in your chair and just be. Even if you don't want to listen to nothing I'm saying, it doesn't hurt my feelings. Because after this, you got to figure out, somebody wants to know already, has asked you, what are we having for dinner? Somebody's already asked you, are you still picking up the kids? Or they're waiting for you to come home and they're gonna talk a lot. You probably don't want to talk anymore today. So let this be your time. My name is Tracey Antee. I am the owner of Maven Consulting. I started January of 2023. Yes, I keep forgetting what year it is and how long it's been. So I have worked in the nonprofit world basically my whole life. I'm a nonprofit baby, is how I tell people. So my mom was a nonprofit director. She was a force to be reckoned with. My dad was a folk life storyteller, and we grew up in a very interesting household surrounded by art and academics and interesting people, and a really cool mom that grew up in LA, so it was a little different. But it got us doing a lot of things. And one of the things that over the years of working in nonprofits, who works in a nonprofit, raises money, has to ask people for money? I know. Who's feeling some pain right now? Who's worried? Safe space here. Who's worried? We're worried. And it's okay. It's okay to be worried. Say that first. It's okay to feel exactly how you feel and to own it. Okay? It's okay to go sit in your car. This is my permission slip to you, even if you do not like my musicals. Go sit in your car and put on Defying Gravity. And if you cannot sing, sing it anyway. Sing it very loudly, because that is an anthem of courage and bravery, even when you are standing completely on your own. Yes, ma'am.
I was actually trying to find an anthem for, everything we're all going through. And so, tried a few, let's try Let It Go, try Into the Unknown, nope, that's not it, it's a great song, not it. And then I started Defying Gravity, and so we're on 2 weeks, twice a day, Defying Gravity.
It's therapy.
Yeah.
It's therapy. It's 7 minutes and 30-something seconds.
So that's nice too.
So just so you know, like if you're on your commute, regardless of whatever is going on, it's your permission slip. So that's about 3-4 times a day for me right now. So, but what I have done over the years, and I told somebody the other day, I was like, yeah, I've worked in nonprofits for 30 years. And I was like, how old am I? I've worked in, for real, like for real. Because when your mom is a nonprofit director, then you are voluntold and you don't have a choice. So working in nonprofits and being paid for your work is two totally different things. But one of the things that, that's me, look, I'm cute, just before I cut my hair. These are my super amazing parents. It's my sister and my niece. This is the first time in probably 10 years that they've been able to come and hear me speak. So this is a really big thing. I know, she told me, she's like, don't call any attention to me. So these two super amazing people, Jeanette Rivera Colson and John Colson. Every speech that I give, if you ever hear me speak, I always say their names, I always show their picture, because as long as you say their name, they never leave you. The work that my parents did has been impactful and will continue to impact people for generations. And we are very proud of them and the work that they did. But what my mom did in starting the Creole Heritage Center, which is how my work in cultural and historical preservation first started, was telling stories. My dad was an awesome storyteller. He would have you on the edge of your seat, and you're like, because we would tell him, Daddy, tell that story again, even though we'd heard it 25 times. He was a great storyteller, and I really did not know until I was older how much I really studied how he would pull people in that weren't really paying attention to him. My dad had an 8th grade education. He was going to school, and he's like, my parents need help. And so he stopped. So my dad only went to school till 8th grade. When my mom started the Creole Heritage Center, it was at Northwestern State University in Natchitoches, and my dad was an avid reader. And he would go and sit in the back of whoever was teaching all of these college classes. And he would just go sit in the classes and just soak up information. His friends were younger than mine, always. He was very cool. He was a cool dad. But what my mom was able to do, and then from that I kind of crafted different things, was really telling the story of why it was necessary. And I think that we get so caught up sometimes in our business and in explaining who we are and identifying by what we do. I'm an attorney. I'm an author that is also an attorney. Not just an attorney. We're so many things, and as women, we're like, well, I'm a wife, I'm a mom, I'm a partner, we have all these different titles, but what's your story? And understanding how invaluable it is to not only know your story, but be able to tell it, your own story. Because we don't want anybody to write our story for us. And that was one of the things that, in the work that my mom did, was about not rewriting, but factually telling the story of who we were as Creole people, not what other people had decided that we were. So that was a major turning point, because it was a lot of, this was 90s, late 80s, early 90s. Nobody, you have to choose. I'm in the 8th grade, and I'm all proud because I was in 8th grade, and that was the first time that they let me go to school, first day of school, and walk in there by myself. I thought I was so cute with my first day of school clothes. Grade. I had a little red skirt on, I'll never forget, and some tennis shoes. And that was the first time I had to switch classes, so I had a homeroom, and I was really feeling ultimate big girl. My sister she was out of high school, like, it's just me. And, first day of school, and they give you the packet. One day that packet's gonna go away, y'all. And so there was these blue cards, like your name, your address, had all these things, and it said race. We had never had that discussion in my house. Not one single time. Not one time. And I was like, skip it, because I'll skip something in a minute. I still do. Skip it. And the gentleman that was the teacher came and he looked over my shoulder. This is the first day of school. It's homeroom. We've been in there like 7 minutes. And the look of disgust on his face, I had not asked a question. I'm just filling out my blue card. I can't stand you people. You just think you better than everybody else. And I'm like, are you talking to me? Like, yep, this is me. He said, y'all just make me sick. And I said, I'm sorry. And he was like, you just don't want to be black. And I am confused because I don't know what's going on. I'm like, did I spell nakedish wrong? Because it is hard. And so then I went home and I told Jeanette. Who? Jeanette, y'all, I told my mama. She was not happy. And we really started talking about it, and I was like, why was he so mad at me? Because I didn't fill in the little blank. Like, we just never filled in the little blank. It wasn't a big deal. And so she was like, I'm gonna get to the bottom of it. 'Cause my mom would cut up. Okay, she'd already cut up for my sister. She cut up for me. And that was really what pushed her to start the Creole Center, was so that we had information and we had a story that was factual and easy for people to understand. I'm sorry that who I am makes you uncomfortable, but that's not my problem. It is not your problem that what you are doing, working for, achieving, winning, makes somebody else uncomfortable. It's your story. You own it. You create it. There's people in your life that support you and love the work that you're doing. We have to tell our stories with conviction, whether we're telling them about the nonprofit that we're working for, we're telling them about a service that we offer as a business owner, we're telling them as this is the history of our family to grandkids or to nieces and nephews. It's really important that we really take ownership of what that story is, but how do we do that in a way that makes sense? So for my nonprofit folks, have changed. Events have changed. Events are bleh. I'm just gonna tell you, I hate events. A business owner is like, oh, here she comes again. She about to ask me for some money. They hate to see me coming. And I'm like, wait. But when I said, hey, listen, the other day, I went and picked up my son from soccer practice, and there was a kid that was still sitting outside, and he got in the car, and he's by himself. And I asked my son, I was like, is he on your team? And he was like, no, Mom, he plays football. I'm like, well, they've been out of practice for like an hour and a half. So I drove around. I said, what you doing? I'm just waiting on my ride. And I was like, you want me to bring you home? Yes, ma'am. I was like, here's my phone, call your mom. So he called his mom, talked to the mom. I said, is it okay if I bring him home? Please bring him home. She's like, I'm stuck at work. No problem, bringing him home. So on the way, I'm chit-chatting and asking him a million questions, and I'm like, do you usually have to wait a long time for a ride? And he was like, yeah. He's like, but I was hoping to have a ride earlier because I got this paper that's due, but I need to go to the library because we don't have internet at home, but I need to finish research, but we have to submit everything online now, but I can't. So hopefully my uncle can pick me up in the morning at 6 o'clock and I can get here when the janitor gets here so I can use the Wi-Fi at school. I said, what? The library in Opelousas, where I live, closes at 4:45. That's the only place that they have free computers to use. The only other place you can go is McDonald's, but if you don't have a computer, then you can't go. Or if you don't have a way, then that doesn't help. Or a lot of high school students sneak in the hospital up to day surgery in the waiting room because nobody is in there and there's free Wi-Fi. That's it. That's your options. I said, call your mom back. She called Mom, Miss Tracey was talking. I was like, can he come to my house and do his homework and I'll print his paper? I bought a $400 printer about 2 weeks later so that I could be the person that printed out all the work for all the kids that didn't have a printer because they couldn't go to the library. Because I can play football, because football is going to be that thing that gets me the scholarship, that gets me to college because it's the only way I'm going to go. So if I'm not great at football, that's not going to happen, but I have to be good at school too. But I can't miss practice, but I need the Wi-Fi, but we don't have libraries in our schools anymore. We don't. But so what we need to figure out is, how do we get broadband? How do we get access for these kids? So would you be interested in helping me figure that out? Yes. Or I can walk in and say, hi, I am Forever Broke Nonprofit, and we're trying to figure out how to help help student athletes get their work done after school. We're having this event and we're selling sausage po' boys, and they're gonna be $10. Do you wanna buy 12 or 37? What you giving to? So that's why story can be so impactful, and it can make such a big difference, because it's how are you explaining what's going on? How are you getting that true message across to make somebody really want to give and support what it is that you're doing? Communities look so different than what they used to look. Fundraising development looks different than what it used to look. So you have to truly tell the story and have that emotional tie-in with that person that you're talking to. That's why the first thing I said was, who works in nonprofits, who sells stuff, who has to sell sponsorships, because then I know that I needed to tell you that story, because you get that. You need to tell the story of your client. Because I can say, for the past 18 years, the Sexual Assault Center has received funding from 3 grants that are funded through the state. It's judicial money, and they do great work, and they meet women at the hospital, and they hold their hand after they've been sexually assaulted, and they know what questions to ask, and they don't have to sit there alone, and they don't have to worry that the family member that shows up doesn't sit there and victim blame them because they don't know the language to use with someone that's just been sexually assaulted. Unfortunately, our biggest grant was cut by 36%, and we're not going to be able to keep our 24-hour hotline open, and we're not going to be able to have somebody to go into the ER to hold that person's hand every single time that this instance comes up. We would really appreciate if you could support us in keeping that service available so that all men and women that have been sexually assaulted in our community have a voice and have a hand to hold. I'm with the Sexual Assault Center. We provide these 7 services. We are open Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. We staff 3 part-time people in a 24-hour hotline. We're having an event, and here is my very big and complicated sponsorship packet with a whole bunch of perks that you don't really care about. Would you like to sponsor? See the difference? Same organization, same thing, but that story, when I tell that story, it's like, I have an employee that I know wants to get behind this. Do y'all need volunteers too? Absolutely. So when you tell the story of who your organization is, or who your business is, and how you're serving people, that's when people really get the buy-in, and that's when you start to see the needle really move. So what's the core elements of a compelling story? The introduction. You don't need to give them a PowerPoint. This is who I am. This is what I do. This is why I do it. I work for this company because I believe in our mission. You don't have to tell them the mission, but you can tell them what you do that makes that mission be accomplished every day. And say it in that way. What's the conflict? So I gave 2 conflicts. In the first example, the conflict was, I have homework that's due, and I have no way to do it because we don't have resources available in our community for the student to do that, to be able to achieve greatness. The second one was, our funding got cut, which means that we won't be able to provide these services to this many people and potentially our doors will have to close. What's the solution? I need your help. I need your help financially. I need your voice. I need your volunteerism. One of the things that I've learned over the years when I've learned this in different areas, but I just did a session with a group of CEOs. And I kind of polled them, were like, what are the things that your company is sponsoring right now? Like, what makes you give? And I was like, wait, what makes you not give? And this is the decision makers. I had about 14 of them in a room. They were like, PowerPoint. A PowerPoint. They were like, we just want to know what you do. The second thing they said the most was an opportunity for their employees to be engaged. They don't want to just write a check. They want to be there sweating it out with you, setting up your tents for your event, or putting, I'm so glad I don't have to do that tonight, because that would have been me, 550 chair covers on a chair. They want to have their employees be a part of it. They're happy to sponsor your event, but they also want a way to engage their employees. They want to, this is a new one, add this to your sponsorship packet. Let that presenting sponsor get on stage and talk. Let them introduce your guest speaker, or let them be the MC. Because one, you don't have to do it, or drag your kicking and screaming board member up there. Two, it doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't cost you anything for that sponsorship perk. But it gives them the opportunity to be seen to a totally different audience, to promote their business, but it shows for them, it's showing the community, we care about what this is. And to them, it's worth that high level sponsorship. So they want the story. They want to know, what is the emotional connection? So when you're having that initial talk and you're doing that initial meeting with a potential client, it's taking yourself out of it a little bit and understanding, what is it that you need right now? Because you want to be their problem solver. You want to fix it. What do you need right now that I can provide for you? What's your pain point? What are you experiencing in your business or with your employees that you don't have an answer for? And just be really blunt and get to the point, because they don't have time. Once you get in that chair, the clock is ticking. So that's why they don't want the whole spiel. They want to hear a story. They want to hear, what does that success look like? So what that success looked like is, my child that I was talking about has now graduated from college. Tracey, sweet baby Jesus. We did it collectively. And he is a field staffer for one of our congressmen. So he tells that story himself from his perspective, because he was sitting next to the kid and they're talking. He went to school with all these kids. He tells the story as a field staffer, he's in politics, to relate to people that I get it and I understand, constituents. I understand your stories because I heard them, and this is what happened. So that kid ended up spending a lot of time in my house. His favorite food was spaghetti. I printed a lot of stuff. He graduated. He did get a scholarship, and he did go off to college, and he did play football, and we cheered him on and were so super excited. And it literally was just somebody to give him a couple of hours of internet a few days a week to make that big of a difference in somebody's life. That's an emotional connection. That's the thing that will make somebody go, maybe this is somebody that I really need to be talking to. So story first, and then your numbers second. Funders want to feel the impact. Data alone isn't enough. The other hand, if you go in there and you got all these numbers, you know, as a business owner or entrepreneur or somebody that offers is a service-based type business, and you go in with just numbers, they story first, back it up with your data. Data is so unbelievably important right now. If you write grants, I work with people that are starting brand baby nonprofits. The very first person you help, write it down, make a spreadsheet, I don't care what you do, capture your data, because that's how you prove the need. So if you are a business owner or you're working for a company that you're trying to attract new clients, track your data, how successful you are. It's just like writing your goals. Write your goals, check in with them every month. We all do it. We go to the little fancy, we're gonna make our vision board party, and you're like, I am so in it, and I'm gonna do all these things, I'm gonna go on all these trips, and I'm gonna do this stuff, and I'm so proud of my board because I am creative Tracey, and then you put it up and you don't ever look at it and you don't check in with your goals. Doesn't work that way. You gotta stick it in your head. You gotta look at it every single day. You need to see your vision board, but you need to check in with your goals. It's the same thing with your data, with whatever work that you do. Track your data, what you're doing, how many people you're seeing, how many clients you've gained in the past month. Yes, ma'am.
So about tracking your data, when you are just starting out, is that something you should just do internally and not share? Like, I'm pretty transparent and don't mind sharing my data and stuff as starting my own law firm, but somebody was like, maybe you should, be public about it. Like, when is a good time to share your data?
When you're comfortable with it, because it's yours. It's yours. You did the big scary, and you started your own law firm. You could have done it a million other ways, but you did the big scary, so you do it the way you want to do it. It's you have the power to say that, and you use that and say, I'm transparent about how many clients I've had and the people that I serve, because I want to show other young minority attorneys that you can go and start your own firm by yourself. You don't have to do it this way because that's the way it's always been done. That is nails on the chalkboard for me. Tell me we've always done it this way, I'm gonna change it. Don't hire me. When I work with boards and they're like, but we've been doing this for 25 years. That's why I'm here. I know. That's why I'm here, because you've been doing it for 25 years and nobody wants to do it anymore. My friend Camille is here. We worked at American Cancer Society. People were tired of walking in a circle for 12 hours for Relay for Life. They didn't want to walk in a circle. They didn't want to walk in a circle. And I kept saying, they don't want to walk in a circle. I was like, I don't want to walk in a circle. I was so mad about walking in a circle and trying to convince people to cook all this food and hope that people show up and we're going to stay there all night. Girl, I got stuff to do. I have things to do. I was like, let me do it my way. So in St. Landry Parish, I told everybody, we're not walking in a circle no more, y'all. We're not gonna walk in a circle, okay? I was like, we're gonna have a party and we're gonna celebrate our cancer survivors and we're gonna celebrate our caregivers, but I didn't tell them that. All I told the people was, I got Keith Frank coming to play for free. You do? Is this really free? Yep. I still had my teams. They were still selling all their stuff. Camille bought 5,000 of my husband's little pink fingerprint cookies he made. She is super excited about it. All these other bands, we want to play. We want to play. We want to play. Because my friend, who is a cancer survivor and Zydeco musician, calls Keith Frank, whose nephew is a 2-time cancer survivor, whose sister is a 1-time breast cancer survivor, and said, hey, Keith, Tracey's doing this thing and she needs us to play, but she ain't got no money. All right, you want to call the people? Yep, all right, we have 5 bands. I have 5 bands. I ain't paying nobody nothing. I wait. We did all the elements of Relay. Nobody walked in a circle. They were super excited, and they got it. we're here to celebrate these people. I support Keith because I like his music and I want to go dance, and I know what the family has been through with cancer. That's why I'm going. They got there and then realized, oh, I'm a cancer survivor too. We're actually here for me, and I am the star. Everybody's happy, no walking in circles. We stopped doing it that way. So just because it's always been done that way, doesn't mean it always has to be done that way. The power of testimonials, the historical significance, depending on what you do, and cultural relevance is very, very important. I did a community input meeting on the north side of Lafayette, December 30th, on a Thursday in that ghost week, where it's like, if you call me, I'm gonna hang up on you. You know, everybody's off, and I had over 75 people show up. And the person that hired me said, "Girl, I was nervous." And I said, "Why?" They were like, he said it to my face, I just didn't know how they were gonna take you. What you mean? And he's like, well, because, you know. I was like, so I high-fived him. He's like, I said, if I went and I was worried about that, we wouldn't have had 75 plus people show up. They wouldn't have stayed for 2 hours. They would have left 5 minutes after I started talking if they would have felt like, she don't know what we need over here. I was like, you're worried about this when nobody else was. That's why you have to be confident in your story and what it is you're able to do and what it is you're able to accomplish. We had a great turnout, and it was a really, really good conversation, but in his mind, I wasn't dark enough, I didn't look like North Lafayette, and people were not gonna listen to me, and they weren't gonna hold any value in what I was saying. The opposite was, thank you for coming to our community and caring enough about our needs to want to do this work with us. Because I'm not here to tell you what to do, I'm here to help organize what you want. That's the difference in how you can present what that story is. So why does that story matter? It matters because it validates the work that you're doing. It validates the company that you're working for. It validates that the need is real because you can give specific examples. If you are not working in a nonprofit where you're a direct care, one-on-one person, that doesn't matter. You understand what it is that you do. You understand the clients that come to you and what their needs are and what they need from you. You can communicate that. When I was working in Alexandria for Volunteers of America, I was in charge of all of the HUD housing and the HUD grants. I don't wish that on nobody. For Alexandria to the top of the state. I had 13 HUD grants that I had to write identical every October. Why can't we just do one for all these places? I couldn't, and 13 reports due in the same month. Life was great. But if I didn't write those grants, those people would not continue to be housed. And we had a homeless coalition, and we were working on a resource center, and we were working on housing, and we were working on all of these things, and we're meeting, and we're meeting, and we're meeting, and then we kept meeting, and I'm like, yo, this is great, but today, right now, we have people sleeping on the levee. Today, right now, when I got to work this morning, this mom with one shoe on and no coat with her baby in a carrier was sleeping up against the door because she had jumped out of a window with her baby in the carrier and walked 10 miles to be there because she didn't know where else to go. We got to do something right now. We don't have any money. I know. But We got people, and we have community, and that is what we're losing. Listen to me. Your community, your neighbors have so much power and talent and can do so much when they pool their resources together. So I called the pastor of the Baptist church across the street from Salvation Army. I said, hey, what you doing? And he said, I'm taking a webinar on how to say no. I was like, ooh, pause. Don't, stop reading. I was like, I just need you to say yes. And he's like, Tracey, what you want? Because he knew I wanted money. I was like, I don't want no money. I need your parking lot for 4 hours, once a month. That's it. What do I need to do? Nothing. Tracey. I said, nothing. Promise. I was like, I want to do a pop-up homeless outreach something. I don't know. He's like, have y'all done this before? I was like, no. He said, you got funding? Nope. What you gonna do? I don't know. I'll call you back. But can I use the parking lot? And he was like, yeah, whatever. I was like, carry on with saying no. So I called all the people that we have all the meetings with. Hey, y'all want to come and spend 4 hours outside, away from your desk? Yes. And I was like, let's bring all of our services and resources to one spot. And we did. So it was about 12 agencies. We had 32 people show up the first time. So I was clever, and I thought, and I named it Helping to Overcome Homelessness, H2O, because everybody has to have water. Everybody needs H2O. Within a year, we were seeing, on average, 200 people in that 4-hour time frame. We had 32 partners. We still weren't funded. That was 14 years ago, because these are my children that are 20 and 23 right now. It's still not funded. And it still happens on the fourth Thursday of every month. Because it wasn't about the money, it was about proving the need and the data. Because that's all we did was collected the data. I shared it with everybody that came. The banks, because it looked great in their annual report that they were there cooking. The hospitals, the nonprofits, resource agencies. We were housing people every month. Everybody was like, well, why don't you write a grant? I was like, I don't want to. Because then it's gonna take the warm and fuzzy community out of it. I had homeschool kids playing basketball in the parking lot with unhoused people who hadn't had a conversation with a child in 20 or 30 years. I stood in the middle like this. I was saying just like this. And my friends would come hug me because one of them said, I come every month because you're the only person every month that touches me. And you don't think about that. And how powerful that was just to have a hug. But we figured out where the gaps were. I don't want to write the grant. I don't want to do that. I want you, agency, that already does this amazing work. You just identified something else you can do. You write the grant. Here's all the data. I want you, bank, to engage your employees so that you're not the one that has to come out here every month. The churches did, I sent them a list at the beginning of the year. This is what we collect every month. We never bought anything. It's still not funded. People still get housed. That's why story matters, because I tell you that and you're like, you know what I could do? This is how it works in action. I just have a couple minutes, sorry. So I want you to think about what are the things that you're doing on a daily basis that you're saying that you could potentially say different that would make a significant impact, and how you're explaining what your story is. Because it's more than important to be able to really get across what it is that you're doing, because people want to feel something. They want to feel. People give money because of an emotion. When you buy a house or you buy a car, that is an emotional purchase. when you go sit in that car that you know you don't have no business driving or buying, but you're like, I look smoking hot right now, and it's so shiny. It's an emotional purchase. When you walk through a house and they got that sexy shower, y'all know the shower I'm talking about, and you're like, I could be in here for like 45 minutes. This is life-changing. It's an emotional purchase. When somebody gives, they hire you, it's an emotional thing. Here's the greatest love story ever told. This is me. This is my smoking hot husband. And I'm gonna end. This is how story works. My mom started the work at the Creole Heritage Center in the early 90s. When she decided to retire for the 55th time, she meant it for real, because she kept, I think I'm done, and then she wouldn't be done. She wanted to do Creole in Vegas, big conference, one more time. I just want to do it one more time, like her swan song. You know how mine it was. Gigi's from Natchitoches too, so it's like I got my peeps. And what happened between Creole in Vegas first time and the second time was social media. So the people that attended were almost a generation younger. This was 12 years ago. And we did it in Vegas because it's a 4-hour drive from LA. Big Creole community in Los Angeles. That's where my mom is from. My cousin Joseph was like, hey, you seen the Antees? I'm like, in Natchitoches? And he was like, no, girl, here. And I was like, no, I don't. He's like, you wouldn't forget them. They're all really tall. I was like, you know how many people I've hugged and kissed today? I don't know. So a little while later, I'm given the direction, what's happening, for that evening, what time the session start the next day, the whole thing, and I get done, and I turn around, and I'm face to belly button with this giant. Okay? I said, oh, I heard about you. He's like, I've been watching you on social media. And he was looking at me just like this. And I had my kids with me. So I introduced, we go upstairs. This picture was taken less than 10 minutes after the very first time I laid my eyeballs on him. And we're trying to make it across the ballroom, and my daddy, in his daddiness, walks up to him, born and raised in LA, lived all over the world playing basketball, never lived like us. Your grandfather, I was like, oh, Jesus, here we go. And he starts telling him his whole life story that he had never heard before. Thank you, Daddy. And he was like, I never heard that story about my grandfather. I'm like, you're gonna hear more. You might as well just meet my mom. I bring him to meet my mom. She's like, oh, yeah. She's like, you're Uncle Arthur. He said, my cousin Arthur? I said, huh? He said, my cousin Arthur? She said, yes. Same thing. My mom's baby sister is married to his cousin. We're not related, and it's far enough down it didn't count anyway. So, this is my rule. If you did not help me blow out my birthday candles and we didn't open Christmas presents together, you fair game, okay? So, we spent the whole weekend all up in each other's business. Met his family, figured out that I knew his whole family in Natchitoches, because that's where his mom and dad were originally from. And when, day 2, I was like, it's a buy one, get 2 free special. How you feel about it? He was like, oh, I'm down. I was like, let's do it. He flew to Louisiana for the first time since he was 18, 10 days later. He stayed for a week and a half. We got engaged 3 months later, and we got married a year after that. But if Mom would never have made it her mission in life to tell the story of who we were as Creole people, to help people figure out their familial connections, to learn about the history of what culture is as a whole, and make it her work to tell the world, to promote and preserve the Creole culture, the greatest love story ever told would have never happened. That's why story is so important, because I am the most spoiled wife you will ever meet in your life. And he is my greatest blessing, and he was the biggest gift that she ever gave me, because that she knew how important that story was. He came to that conference not to see the girl he had seen on social media. He went to figure out what was his story. And now it's our story. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys' time. Listen to your song. Thank you.